When I started YouTube, I kind of thought everyone would be idiots in my comments section, but that's completely the opposite of what went down. Everyone here just seems to be very smart, or at least on the right track if they're like young and they haven't had that time to develop skills and stuff. The reality is, which is very pleasing to hear for a lot of you, anyone who's kind of career grinding, you're gonna get there if you're watching a channel like this. Like, most people are way behind where you are at this point. And like, I was seeing a 14-year-old guy the other day. He sent me his website to roast, and like, he's already doing React and stuff. Like, dude, you're gonna be totally fine. You do not have to worry about your career at that age. You're like just leaving middle school. A lot of my classmates don't know what React is. And the industry, I think it's easy to like look around, see all these people with their ergonomic keyboards and Vim shortcuts and all the big YouTubers and whatnot, and think like, oh no, I'm doomed here. My career is like over. You're gonna get into the workforce and see that you're in the top 1% of people who are invested in this hobby. Like, so many people just do this for the money and do not care. Depends on your company, obviously. There are the competitive ones, but yeah, you'll have no trouble getting a job. What really made me realize the brilliance of my audience is the other day, I was getting blazed out of my mind in my backyard, which is a legal province of Canada. And I was reading some comments. That last thing, by the way, for law enforcement and employers, if you're watching, that was a joke. I was not in Canada. These comments were on a video about switching away from ergonomic keyboards. You know, those little finger-shaped, hand-shaped keyboards. The Ferris sweep was what I was talking about, and why my laptop keyboard was just like doing me right currently. And the amount of comments in there that were basically, as I interpreted it in my very clear state of mind, like, they were kind of titans of ergonomics in terms of keyboards and layering. And these guys just like knew their keyboard shit down to every optimization, and they were like super fast, super comfortable with it. And I was kind of floundering around. Like, I don't know, Ferris sweep is a pretty solid keyboard setup, but like my layering was janky as hell. And all these guys were kind of respectfully extending their advice to continue down this road. Like, look, this has worked so well for me. You can try this. Yeah, like one in particular, a guy was like, currently what I'm trying to do is like optimize my stuff, or currently what I'm working on is optimizing my layout and trying to not get discouraged. And it looks like we're on the same journey, something like that, which is like, I could just feel it was like they were respecting me, as maybe some of them saw me as like a titan of Vim motions, which I don't know, some of you might see me as, some of you might not if you're a more seasoned Vim user. And they're like the keyboard guys, you know, they know way more than me about keyboard layers and stuff. And it was like a very mutually respectful, you should keep going on this, like it gets better down the line. You haven't fully optimized everything yet, but I respect your opinion because of these advanced Vim tips you've shown us in the past. And like, maybe you know what's best. I don't know, it was like, I don't know what's best. I'm gonna probably go back to ergonomic keyboards. I'll have a whole nother video about that and how to optimize it way more. But yeah, that was just so awesome. And that keeps happening. Like, there's always some genius in my comments, or a bunch of them actually, who just know way more than me and then like respectfully point it out, which is so awesome. There's also a lot of kind of airheaded and vapid comments, but even those are like people watching a channel about Vim and ergonomics and stuff. Even if you're 14 and just saying the same joke over and over again, it's like, good on you for at least watching a channel like this and being very consistent with it. That'll take you very far in life. And I'm not just glazing like, oh, everything I do is so awesome. But it kind of is though. Like, if you're using Vim and if you're like just thinking about optimizing everything all the time, that's kind of awesome. That's like a sick path to go down. It's only up from here. Also, sometimes I have deeper interactions with my audience members. Like, there have been several people, I don't know, maybe upwards of 10 that I've like called personally just to talk to about different things, the industry and whatnot. And it's really cool because it's often people that are like extremely similar to me. The more I talk to them, the more it's like we share so many beliefs and so many hobbies and things. It's like we're basically clones. And it's funny because this hobby is so unusual. And the hobby, I'm just like, I don't know, everything from programming to Vim and like hyper ergonomic stuff. You can boil it all down into one thing, but there are different versions and it's all kind of interrelated, you know. And you can go your whole life not personally meeting another person who shares those interests, especially in smaller places, especially like Europeans. Met a couple very cool Italians through this. And yeah, it's just like amazing how similar some people are. And like getting to talk to someone who's that similar to you for the first time is pretty unreal. And yeah, I've met some incredibly cool characters. There's like a guy who's a CEO of like an event management company, I think, and he gave me a lot of advice on my board game. We both played Magic the Gathering as kids, so, and I bet a surprising amount of you out there also do. There was a guy I talked to today who's like a top level engineer at Google. Had a great conversation with him about like how Vim is used there and kind of like the clash between the open source ethics of Vim and like the closed source proprietary evil Google bloatware. And it's a lot more nuanced than that. Like, I won't get into that whole debate, but that is an interesting thing to talk about. But yeah, showed me some pretty amazing things. And I don't know, there's been so many other people too from all over the world that are like really, really interesting characters that I did not expect at all to find so many like minds and so many people who are just like so smart and knowledgeable about so many different things. Another thing is a couple days ago, I put out a video where I was just talking in my car about like parenting and how I was raised and like just advice I thought would be good if you were raising a kid, right? Thing is that video like performed so badly that I was like, ooh, maybe people just don't want to see this kind of content. I also have a bad image in my mind of, you know, those people on YouTube, they get recommended, sometimes they have like 3 viewers and they're just like a random unqualified guy talking about some life advice and you're like, you're not making it, dude. I'm sorry. You're going to be one of those failed YouTubers. And I was just like, oh, people in real life seeing this? Oh. But like 10 people in different comment sections, like all said, where did that video go? I was watching that video. Can you bring it back? And like, that made me realize for the first time, like I may still be small, but there's like at least a couple of people that actually care about what I have to say, which is pretty unreal. I never really thought I would get to that point. So I'll put that video back up if you want to watch it. Another really interesting thing is I can feel like the pull of certain factions in YouTube whenever I make a certain video. Like sometimes I can see the Luke Smith crowd grow stronger when I make some kind of reference to Monero or I don't know, whatever. There's different kind of sub hobbies in this hobby, you know, and then there's the ergonomic keyboard people. And then that one video I made, like the internships video, that pulled in like a ton of career grinding normies. But some of them stayed, and like that's really cool. You know, I can tell that through this I've convinced some random kids to try Vim and like ergonomic keyboards. A lot of them probably like left. I think a lot of subscribers you get from certain things like that are just like subscribe to you and then kind of just leave and never watch anything else you put out. So they're like just dead subscribers basically, because they were only interested in that career video and I never really put out another one. But yeah, that's fine. And I also want to do like a little bit more stuff like that, career stuff like that. But one thing I hate about that whole side of YouTube is there's so much of it and it's just like, I'm so successful. Like this is how this worked for me. And all that advice is just so like empty. I would rather have someone be like, this is what's failing for me. Like, this is all the things I'm doing unoptimally. This is why I'm like a bad engineer. I'm going to try to fix it though. That's kind of what I want to do next few weeks. Just like go over how I can optimize everything I'm doing. Cause it's sure as hell not perfect, but it could be better. There's so many other like countless examples of people referencing little Easter eggs and things I put in my videos and just people leaving very interesting comments. And I know there's a whole ton of you who don't comment, but are also, I don't know, you feel involved with the channel too. Because I know I'm like that with other people. Like, if you don't have anything to say, really, there's no point in commenting. Like, if you don't have a funny joke or correction or observation, I made a short about this, but some of you don't watch shorts, so it's like there's just a whole ton of like invisible watchers of this channel who are like nonetheless very involved, even if you don't comment or like I rarely like videos, I'll be honest, like or comment on them. But there's some creators who I've watched basically everything they put out, but I don't interact like that. I don't know, it's not my style. But yeah, feel free to, because it's a very interactive kind of community I've got here compared to other channels that are very just like receive information. I feel like at least now you don't see it so much anymore, that there's like back and forth. And there is like a whole create a Discord kind of thing. Discord isn't really my style, to be honest. Like I use it for individual connection, but I feel like a Discord server would end up distracting me. And it's like, even if I have other people administering it, it's like a whole churning mess of, I don't know. I don't really want to get into it, but I like the YouTube comments, and I might eventually create some sort of. That's about it. I'll catch you next time on the Sylvan Franklin channel.